You ever have one of those neighbors who thinks the world revolves around them? Yeah, that's Karen. Moved in 3 years ago, slapped a faux ranch sign on her mailbox, and started bossing everyone around like she founded the whole county. Me? I've lived on this land my whole life, raised cattle, fixed tractors, built this barn with my own 2 hands. So when Karen decided my barn was her personal parking lot, well, let's just say she picked the wrong guy. It started on a Tuesday. Always a Tuesday, isn't it? I came back from the feed store with a trailer full of hay bales, only to find her shiny crossover smack dab in front of my barn doors. Not kinda near, not off to the side, dead center, blocking both sliding doors like she was claiming the place for the HOA. I honked, waited, no answer. I called her cell, straight to voicemail. I even walked over to her house, knocked twice, nothing. So there I was, sunbaking my neck, hay wilting in the trailer, and not a single cow fed. She'd done this before, once, maybe twice, claiming the community needed overflow parking. But this wasn't a cul-de-sac. This was a working farm. So that day, I snapped a picture of her car, pulled the tractor around, and hooked a tow chain under her rear axle. She wanted rural. She was about to get a real taste of it. And before y'all say anything, yeah, I towed her car straight into the cow pen. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, because I want to know who else has dealt with an HOA Karen like this. Now, for context, the cow pen ain't just some little wooden fence with a goat or 2. It's a sloped pasture behind the barn, about half an acre, with 6 full-grown Holsteins and 1 extremely territorial steer named Duke. Karen's fancy SUV didn't stand a chance. I towed it in slow, just enough to clear the barn doors, and left it facing downhill right where the mud thickens and the flies love to gather. Took me all of 2 minutes. Didn't even unhook the trailer first. I backed up, unchained it, and left her ride sitting pretty between a salt lick and a fresh cow patty. You'd think that'd be enough. You'd think that would teach her something. But no. Not with Karen. She came storming down my gravel drive about an hour later, sandals flopping, holding a Starbucks cup like it was a legal document. She didn't even look at the barn. She zeroed in on her car like a heat-seeking missile, hands on her head, yelling my name like I'd just committed a federal crime. "What is this?" she screeched, voice all high and nasal. "You can't just drag people's property around." I shrugged. Didn't drag it, just relocated it. You were blocking my hay drop. That's when the phone came out. She started filming, walking in circles, narrating like she was a news anchor. "This is an act of aggression," she said. "He endangered my vehicle. There's feces. There's actual manure on my back tire." I nodded toward Duke, who was eyeing her like she owed him rent. "Better move quick, ma'am. He don't like when strangers yell near his feed." She backed off, but not before shouting, "I'm calling the HOA." So she made good on her threat. Called the HOA right there in my driveway, pacing like she was running the country. I leaned against the barn wall and watched, arms crossed, chewing on a piece of hay for dramatic effect. She was using her customer service voice, real fake sweet, real loud, trying to make it sound like she was the victim in all this. But here's the kicker. Our HOA doesn't actually govern my property. I'm outside the official boundary line, just enough to keep my well, my barn, and my fences under county rule, not Karen's little kingdom. She never did read the bylaws, though. Figures. About 15 minutes later, her friend Julie, the HOA secretary with a clipboard addiction, showed up in a minivan. She parked just past the cattle guard and walked over, heels sinking into the dirt. Julie's the kind of woman who brings an agenda and a lemon bar to every meeting, and she looked deeply uncomfortable the moment Duke snorted in her direction. "I'm here on behalf of the Homeowners Association," she started. "There's been a situation reported." I pointed to the pasture. "You mean that situation? The one currently enjoying shade under a hay feeder?" Julie squinted through the fence at Karen's car. Her nose wrinkled. Well, yes. We need you to remove the vehicle immediately. It's causing distress. I laughed, like full belly laughed. Oh no, ma'am. You're mistaken. She caused the distress. That's my barn. That's my land. And your rules. They stop a good 100 yards back. Karen stomped her foot. This is unacceptable. You're embarrassing me in front of the community. I tilted my hat. You did that yourself when you blocked a working barn to go get an oat milk latte. Karen wasn't done. Not even close. By that evening, she'd fired off a rant in the neighborhood group chat. Full caps, no punctuation, accusing me of vehicular aggression, intentional humiliation, and my personal favorite, emotional endangerment via bovine proximity. I didn't even respond. I just posted one photo, her SUV, sitting in the cow pen, with Duke licking the driver's side mirror. Captioned it, "Next time, park legal." By morning, half the town had seen it. And you know what? Folks started showing up. A couple neighbors brought lawn chairs. One guy brought popcorn. It turned into a spectacle. Karen's car, the barn, and Duke playing guard like it was his job. I should have charged admission. Karen, meanwhile, doubled down. She marched into the county office trying to report me for illegal towing. Problem was, the clerk behind the desk was my cousin Beth, and she knows every inch of property around here. "You're gonna have to explain to me," Beth told her deadpan, "how a man tows a car off his own barn doors illegally." Karen turned red, stammered something about boundaries and shared easements, but Beth just handed her a county map. "Only easement out here's the one you're standing on, and it leads straight back to your house." By sundown, Karen had stopped talking to me directly. She started printing flyers instead, left them in mailboxes, posted them on the community board by the diner. Warning: farm owner engaging in hostile acts against neighbors. One of the local teens drew horns and a mustache on her photo. Someone else scrawled "Long Live Duke" underneath. It was getting out of hand. But I wasn't about to back down. Not when she was still pretending she'd done nothing wrong. Now here's the part I didn't expect. Not even a little. Couple days after the whole cow pen incident, I'm working on the tractor out back when an old Ford Ranger pulls into my driveway. Out steps a man in a button-down shirt and jeans, holding a clipboard, but not the HOA kind. County plates on the truck. Official seal on his jacket. "Afternoon," he says, tipping his hat. "You the one owns this property?" I stand up, wipe my hands on a rag. "Been that way my whole life. What's this about?" He flips a few pages. "Got a formal complaint filed. Says there's been unauthorized use of private land, plus livestock endangerment due to non-farm traffic." I blink. You gotta be kidding. He shakes his head real calm. "Mind if I take a look around?" So I walk him through everything. Show him the barn, the pasture, the security cam footage I pulled up on my phone. I even show him the photo of Karen's car in the cow pen, surrounded by happy, well-fed cows who couldn't care less about her crossover, but when we step behind the barn, that's when it hits. He squints toward the pasture fence. "You see this?" he says, pointing to the far end. "Looks like someone's been cutting across your field. There's a worn path here. Tire tracks, too." My stomach sinks. I hadn't noticed it. He walks a little further, crouches down. "Fresh rubber. Same tread pattern as that SUV I swallow." "So, she's been driving through my pasture?" He nods, dead serious. "Looks like she's been using your field as a shortcut from the back road. Might have been doing it for weeks." And just like that, the whole barn door parking thing made a lot more sense. I'll be honest, finding those tire tracks hit me harder than I thought it would. It wasn't just the damage or the nerve of it, it was the disrespect. The kind you don't fix with a new fence or a civil conversation. Karen hadn't just blocked a barn door by accident. She'd been cutting through my land on purpose, repeatedly, like it was some kind of shortcut for her errands or her morning yoga class. I stood there in the dirt, the wind kicking up dust, and I felt it in my chest, tight and hot. This land has been in my family for 4 generations. My granddad laid every fence post by hand. My father taught me how to bale hay right where her tire marks were now grooved into the soil. She hadn't just driven over pasture, she'd driven over history. The county man, name was Chuck, real decent guy, noticed I'd gone quiet. "We get people like her sometimes," he said gently. "City folks who think fences are just decoration." I nodded, jaw clenched. She could have asked. Once. I'd have told her no, but at least she'd have asked. He took some photos, made a few notes, and promised he'd file a report. Said he couldn't cite her yet, not without catching her in the act. But he'd make sure it got on the books. That night, I sat on my porch, watching the sun dip behind the trees. Duke was snoring under the feeder, the barn doors wide open like they should have been that first day. I thought about Karen, about her smug little flyers, and all the ways she'd wormed her way into folks' sympathy. But I also knew something she didn't. Respect might be free to give, but once it's lost, you pay double getting it back. After that, something in me shifted. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done. Done playing nice, done letting her skate by on entitlement and HOA jargon. If the county needed proof to act, then I'd get it. I installed 2 new trail cams, one on the fence post where the tire tracks crossed, and another hidden up in the old oak tree at the edge of the pasture. Both had night vision, motion alerts, time-stamped everything. And then I waited. Didn't take long. 3 mornings later, just before 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion alert. I sat up in bed, pulled up the live feed, and there she was. Karen's white crossover creeping through the mist like a ghost with leather seats. She didn't hesitate, just rolled right through the pasture, past the salt blocks, down the slope, and across the field toward the back road. Got it all on video, every inch of trespass. That afternoon, I printed stills, highlighted the time, marked her plate. I even wrote a little note in Sharpie across the bottom, 5th time this week. And then, I made a few copies. One went to Chuck down at the county office. One I mailed certified to the HOA president, who, by the way, had no clue Karen was using private farmland as her personal cut-through. And one, I slid under Karen's windshield wiper. Didn't say a word. But I watched from the porch as she marched to her car, unfolded the paper, and froze. She looked up like she felt me watching. Eyes scanned the tree line. Then she got in her car and drove off. Not through the pasture this time, but the long way home. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. She knew. The game had changed. Saturday morning rolls in hot and sticky, air thick with summer and tension. I'm tightening hinges on the south barn door when I hear the crunch of gravel under tires. I turn, and there she is. Karen, stepping out of her SUV in yoga pants and mirrored sunglasses like she's headed to brunch instead of a standoff. She doesn't knock, doesn't wave, just storms across the yard like she owns the place. "We need to talk," she snaps. I set my wrench down slow. "About what? The car you parked where my cows poop, or the land you've been trespassing through like it's the scenic route?" She stiffens. "That wasn't trespassing. There's no clear signage. It looks like a road." I pull a laminated county map out of my back pocket, the same one I gave the HOA. "See this line? That's the property boundary. And see this path? The one you've been joyriding down? It ain't on any map, 'cause it's not a road. It's a field. My field." She glares at the paper like it's personally insulting her. "Well, maybe if you weren't so stubborn, we could have come to a neighborly solution. You've embarrassed me, dragged me through the mud, literally, and now people are treating me like I'm the problem." I cross my arms. "Maybe because you are the problem. You blocked my barn, ignored my calls, used my land without permission, then acted like I was the one out of line for not rolling over. She scoffs, flipping her sunglasses up. You have no idea who you're messing with. I'm on the HOA board. I know people. You think this is over? I lean in just a little. No, Karen. I know it's over. Cameras don't lie, and neither does the county. She turned on her heel, but her face said it all. The Queen had lost her court. Monday rolled around, and with it came the ripple effect. First, a knock at my door. Chuck from the county, back with a smile and a clipboard. We're issuing her a formal notice, he said, flipping to the page. Illegal vehicle passage across private property. Multiple counts, fines not light either. And if she does it again, we're escalating to criminal trespass. I nodded, trying not to grin. Appreciate it, Chuck. Oh, and by the way, he added, someone from the HOA dropped by to ask about the boundary lines. Guess they figured out she'd been making calls in their name without board approval. I'll admit, that part surprised me, but it explained what happened next. By the end of the week, the flyers Karen had stapled around the neighborhood had all been ripped down. The HOA chat group went quiet. Too quiet. Then someone, I won't say who, posted the trail cam footage anonymously in the group. Just enough to make it clear Karen hadn't been honest with anyone. That's when folks started drifting back. Little things at first. A neighbor leaving a basket of eggs on my porch. Another one, used to be tight with Karen, sent a text that said simply, didn't know the whole story. Sorry. Then came Richard. Lives 2 houses down. Vietnam vet, straight shooter. He stopped by while I was feeding Duke. She's been lying to folks for months, he said, squinting into the sun. Turns out you weren't the one stirring the pot. She just didn't like anyone telling her no. I didn't say much. Just offered him a seat on the porch. Funny thing about justice. It doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it shows up slow, steady, and wearing muddy boots. It all came full circle 2 weeks later. Karen put her house up for sale, just a plain white sign at the edge of her yard, no open house, no farewell posts in the neighborhood group, no muffins baked for one last attempt at charm. She left quiet, just like that. Rumor was the HOA didn't ask her to resign. They flat out voted her out. Too many complaints, too many lies. And when the county citation showed up in her mailbox with those camera stills attached, even the board couldn't back her anymore. I watched from my porch the morning she loaded up a U-Haul. Her eyes never met mine. She just got in her car, pulled out of the driveway, and for once, she took the actual road home. The barn's been quiet since. Duke still does his rounds. The cows are fat and content, the pasture's healing from tire ruts and bad decisions. And me? I finally got to unload the hay without a Honda in my way. But something else changed too. Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years started waving again. Some even stopped by to check on the fence line, offer help repairing the gate Karen's SUV had knocked off kilter. One woman brought by a homemade pie and said, "Glad you stood up." We needed someone to. Truth is, I didn't do it to be noble. I did it because you don't let someone come onto your land, block your barn, and treat your family's history like a driveway. This farm doesn't run on committee votes or coffee-stained flyers. It runs on sweat, stubbornness, and the kind of justice only a cow pen and a well-timed tractor tow can deliver. And around here, that's all the closure I needed.